Blood flow through the heart is crucial because it ensures that the body's tissues get the oxygen and nutrients they need while removing waste products. Hello everyone, welcome back to MedMinds, where we simplify medical knowledge. Before we get into the video, remember to like and subscribe to this channel, and while you're at it, don't forget to click on the notification bell to stay informed about more videos like this. Let's go. Okay, welcome back to MedMinds. So in our previous video, you may have understood generally how important blood is to the body, right? And you know that in order for cells to carry out their regular processes, there needs to be blood, which is supplying nutrients, supplying oxygen, and then also carrying away waste product. That's why we need to understand how blood gets to these organs and what actually takes place. So that brings us to blood flow through the heart, because like we already established in our previous videos that the heart is the pumping force. It is what is behind the fact that blood is moving the way it's moving through the blood vessels. So, but before we enter into the blood flow process proper, there are a few things we need to understand, like the structure of the heart. But I feel that it's something you should go and study personally on your own. We already have a video about that. You can as well go there and watch it on the YouTube channel. But if you don't, if you already do, sorry, then we'll just get right into the video. But for the sake of, to recover our memory, to remember what we've already read, for clarity purposes, I'll just do a quick recap about that before we enter what we need to do. Okay, so first of all, the heart has 4 chambers, which are 2 atria above and 2 ventricles below. So atrium is singular for atria. Atria is plural, right? Now, each of this atrium, one of them above and the ventricle below, is separated by a valve to facilitate the one-way flow of blood. Now, a valve here basically can be likened onto a door that opens one way. That's a door that opens only in one way into the ventricle, and that one way is into the ventricle, right? And now you need to know the names of these valves because they are very, very important in the blood flow process. And remember, we have already said that these valves are here to prevent the backflow of blood. We don't want blood flowing backwards. We only want it going in the direction we want it to go. So you need to know that the valve that it's separating the right atrium from the right ventricle is called the right atrioventricular valve, or the tricuspid valve. So right as in the right side of the heart, the right atrium, the right ventricle, then atrioventricular. That is trying to tell you there's a conjunction between, or there is a connection between the atria and that ventricle. That's the right atria and the right ventricle. So the right atrioventricular valve, or the tricuspid valve. Then the valve that separates the left atrium from the left ventricle is called what? You can say it. Yes, you are correct. The left atrioventricular valve, also known as mitral, also known as bicuspid valve. Then the valve that blood needs to flow through from the heart to go into the lungs is called the pulmonary. You guys could have actually guessed that, the pulmonary valve, because pulmonary is a prefix word or a general word for lungs, right? Anatomical. So the valve that blood needs to flow through before getting into the lungs from the heart is called the pulmonary valve. Now, when that blood now wants to leave the heart, now not to the lungs this time, but into the general circulation, into the the body, not just the lungs, into the aorta, is known as what? The aortic valve. I hope we understand to this point, right? So it's very important for you to understand these valves and how what they actually do in this blood flow process. Now that we've got that covered, there's still something we need to figure out now. And I really pray that you pay attention, because it's very, very important for you not to get confused, because the blood flow through the heart is actually a very easy process, but sometimes right and left can be very confusing. I know it confused me. So let's get into what are those things we need to know that are very, very paramount for our understanding and non-confusion of the blood flow process. Now, the first one is the right side of the heart. The heart is divided generally into two sides, the right and the left side, by the septum, right? That's anatomy. Now, the right side includes both the right atrium and the right ventricle, right? The left side includes both the left ventricle and the left atrium, right? Now, I want to say now that the right side of the heart carries only deoxygenated blood. Only. Now, how do we remember this? The opposite of right, as in the right side of the heart, is wrong. If something is not right, then it's wrong, right? So the opposite of this is what's wrong, which means that the right side of the heart carries wrong blood. Now, wrong blood is blood we don't want. It's deoxygenated blood, that is blood without oxygen. While the left side of the heart, the left atrium, the left ventricle, carries only oxygenated blood. Now, how can we remember this, right? Now, left, the opposite of left is right, Abby. So, what that means is the left side of the heart carries the right kind of blood, as in oxygenated blood. Oxygenated blood, blood that is good, blood that we want, right? So I hope you were able to understand this concept, right? Now for the blood flow process proper. So blood from the superior and the inferior vena cava, which are the largest veins. The superior vena cava drains blood from the head, the neck, the chest region, and the upper limbs, while the inferior vena cava drains blood from the legs and the abdomen. So blood from these two large veins empty directly into the right atrium. Now, once this blood enters the right atrium, it then flows through the right atrioventricular valve into the ventricles. Now, I can remember saying that these valves are like one-way doors that open into the ventricles. And what happens is, once the blood empties into the right atrium, the pressure buildup in the right atrium forces these valves open, allowing the blood to now flow from the right atrium into the right ventricle. And once the blood enters the right ventricle, the increase in pressure in the ventricles shuts that valve, preventing the backflow of blood. So once blood enters the right ventricle, the ventricle then pumps that blood into the pulmonary trunk, which is going to divide later into pulmonary arteries that are going to the lungs. Now, once this blood moves, it passes through what they call the pulmonary valve. Pulmonary as in lung valve. So when it passes that pulmonary valve right here directly into the pulmonary arteries, it goes straight to the lungs. Now, these are the only arteries that carry deoxygenated blood. Now, once this deoxygenated blood gets to the lungs for oxygenation, there is an exchange, and then oxygen is being put into that deoxygenated blood, making it oxygenated. Now, it's time for that blood to come back to the heart. Now, it comes back to the heart via these pulmonary veins you can see right here. So these are the pulmonary veins. Lungs, pulmonary means lungs, so these are the pulmonary veins, and these are the only known veins that bring back or carry oxygenated blood. So now this oxygenated blood has entered directly now into the heart, but where exactly in the heart does it enter? The left atrium. Remember, we said the opposite of left is right, so that means it's carrying the right kind of blood. So now oxygenated blood is being emptied into the left atrium by the pulmonary veins. Now, from this left atrium, there's going to be a contraction, and now blood is going to pass through the left atrioventricular valve or the mitral or the bicuspid valve into the left ventricle. Remember, I told you about the pressures. So now that the blood has entered the ventricle, it now needs to be pumped out into the general circulation. Now, from that left ventricle, this oxygenated blood needs to be disseminated, needs to be spread throughout the whole body. So now the left ventricle then pumps this blood directly into the aorta, passing through the aortic valve, where it is then, disseminated, being spread by its various branches. So why don't we do a quick recap and revision of what we just said? Blood enters the heart through the superior and inferior vena cava, and the deoxygenated blood enters directly into that right atrium. Then from the right atrium, it flows into the right ventricle through the right atrioventricular valve. From there, it's pumped into the lungs via the pulmonary valve, and then the pulmonary arteries carry it to the lungs, and then the pulmonary veins bring back oxygenated blood that has already taken oxygen from the lungs. It returns into the left atrium, passing through the left atrioventricular valve, enters into the ventricles. Then from the ventricles is pumped into the general circulation or into the aorta, passing through the aortic valve. So now that we are done with the recap, I'm going to give you guys time to practice using this diagram, and once you're done, comment down in the comment section if you actually got it. Also, if you have any questions, remember to relay it to us. Thank you so much guys for watching. If you really enjoyed this video, you learned something new, then please remember to like and subscribe. Also, feel free to share our link to other students that need this video. Thank you, and see you in our next video. Bye.